So this installment of the Auto Refinery, I'm going to show you why going on Facebook Marketplace when you're in the market for nothing is a very bad idea. I'm always whining to Joe and to John that I have too much stuff. I have too many cars. We have too many motors, too many trailers. I need to get rid of stuff, get rid of stuff, get rid of stuff. But instead of getting rid of something, I brought something in here. Check this out. Is an engine that I don't need it. I barely even want it, but it's here. Local guy, he's got a 67 Vet, and I've known that car for many, many, many years. And this is the engine out of that Vet. Although it is not original to that Vet, it is an original Corvette engine. This is one way you can tell because the VIN designation on the pad is unique to that in the way of a Corvette. The way they break it down, 7 is the year, 1 is Corvette. The last 5 are the following 5, the last 5 of the VIN in the particular car. V would mean Fremont built. II really is 11/112, which is November the 2nd. And HE means it is a federal compliant, not a California emissions engine. Yes, they did that back then. HE 327, 300 horse with a manual transmission. The block number 3892657 is consistent with that of a 327. And believe it or not, the block was cast October 6th of 66 to be used in a 67 car, November the 11th. So that checks. Don't let these aluminum valve covers fool you. This engine would have had originally stamped steel valve covers. But the heads that are on here are the 462 heads, 3890462. The infamous camel hump heads, no provisions for bracketry. Most people will look at those and say, oh, those are the 202 heads, but that's not really the case. You could have this casting can receive and be cut for either one of those valves. The date codes in these heads, let's see if I can show you here in the glare, is K16. All right, K being November 1, the 1st. Both heads have a K16 date. Very cool. Very cool that they actually match K16, K16. So that's cool because the heads are November the 1st. And that was when the heads were cast. And the block was actually, this engine was built November the 2nd. So those heads were brandy new. 1 day old when they went on this motor. The intake, I don't think, is correct. The intake, the casting number there on the intake, 3872783. The problem with that is it looks to me like the date code is a G66. Can you see it down in there? G66. And that would mean like July 6th of 66. That seems to be a little bit too early for this particular engine. All right. That's the end of the good news. Let's talk about why this engine came out of the car. So up until 1968, the Chevy 327 had a press-on harmonic balancer. Unless, I should say, it was a high-performance one, i.e. L79 or fuel-injected model, then it would have had a bolt-on harmonic balancer. Otherwise, they're pressed on and can sometimes come zinging off. This one came zinging off, and you can see how the balancer is definitely beat up. So this particular gentleman opted to pull the non-original engine out of his Corvette and insert another, fresher, non-original engine into his Corvette. And here's why he opted to sell it. So I don't know what happened here, but obviously somebody had a problem because this is tapped for a bolt. And this is the bolt that he gave me that allegedly had fallen out, evidently had fallen out. So I'm going to go forth with playing with yet another distraction here. I'm just going to make sure there's no oil in this thing. I'm going to pop this timing cover off. Let's get a better look at the crank. And let's see if this thing is even fixable the way it is, or if in fact it's got to be broken down and this crank chucked, junked, or repaired. Let's see what happens. All right, let's see what we got. I got the bolts out of the timing cover here, and that was a good exercise pulling that drain plug because there was oil in the motor. That is messy. So we got a double roller chain in there, which is great. Let's see if I can get this one-handed. Okay, timing cover off. Set that over to the side, and that's an orange or TV, so somebody's definitely been in here. And there is a just kind of a wallowed out keyway. So let me turn this thing over with this bolt, maybe, and get a better look at it in just a second here. Here's what I've determined. When you combine poor design with poor workmanship, those two things together yield relatively poor results. The poor design part is that Chevy decided Oldsmobile would never go for this. Chevy decided, let's just take a balancer and let's just press it on, just a press fit. These things don't make any kind of horsepower. They don't rev anywhere anyway. So we're just going to stick that on there and hope for the best. Oh, except the high performance ones. But up until 68, any standard 327 had a pressed on stinking balancer. Bad design. Then you combine that bad design with bad workmanship, and it looks something like that. You see how that bolt is crooked? That bolt threads in to after the fact threads, meaning somebody drilled this crank, probably did it in the car, to put a bolt in there to hold on the balancer that had probably already flew the F off. So they take this bolt and they tighten it up and they say, yeah, man, that baby's going to hold. And in their defense, it probably held for 30 years. Now we get into, one more thing. Now you take the dimension of the bolt and then you put on this big chunky washer and you put it in front of the crank pulley, which isn't really supposed to have a bolt on it. It's not self-centering or anything. It just kind of floats there. And how many threads do you have sticking into the crank? Not a lot. There's a lot more threads in the crank than this bolt is grabbing. That's a good sign. This is not a, self-centering washer at all. So what happens is when you do that and you put your key, this is a key. This is a keyway. That's what a key looks like. And that's what a key looks like after this disaster. And there's the keyway in the crank, and you can clearly see how the top little lip there is worn out. Can you see that? See how nice and sharp that thing comes up and has basically a sharp 90-degree angle right there. This one does not. So if you take this thing, let me show you how it fits in here. Look how nice that looks right there, huh? But watch what happens. I can lay this thing over. I can lay this thing over. Look at that. Look how nice that lays in there at an angle. That's not what it's supposed to do. That's how much play is in that keyway. A new key, a longer bolt, and a self-centering washer would help. What am I going to do with this? I got 2 Chevy motors here, 2 small blocks, and they both need crankshafts. We might come up with, I don't know if I'm going to weld in there. I'm going to tack weld a key into the keyway. Thing needs a crank anyway. It's already drilled at an angle. So we're not going to be able to straighten that out with the crank in the motor. I intend to go through this motor anyway if I end up keeping it. But the reality is it's out of a Corvette. And it's got a right date code. And the heads match the block. So maybe somebody's got more use for this than I do at this point. Got a lot of things to do. Just grabbed this up from my local neighbor who had this in his trailer for sale. Boom. It's here. A placeholder. Don't need to worry about it right now. Skid mark, well, it's got some noises in the motor. Runs like a champion. Skid mark, our 72 El Camino shop truck. So I got the valve covers back on. I'm going to put the timing cover back on. Going to stick the new balancer. He did source a new balancer with a really nice slot in there for the key. So I've already swapped over the crank pulley onto that. This is the remains of the original balancer. Yeah, no good, man. That's just a paperweight. So let's just stick it back together. Put it in the corner. I might have a carburetor to stick on it. He did send me pictures of the carburetor he had. That was not original to this motor anyway. It's just a replacement Holley square board that he had. I think I have one that Yolan's contributed back over in there. So maybe I'll pull that out. Definitely don't have a distributor. But a Corvette distributor would have a provision for a cable drive for the tack. So maybe we don't need that right now. But all right, let's button it up. Put it in the corner. Neaten up the shop here and get back to what we're really supposed to be working on, which is the rear differential for Mr. Jones.